is now in session.
This is a rare look at a hearing inside the San Antonio State Hospital in Texas.
Do you have an opinion on whether the patient has a mental illness?
She has schizophrenia. She still has some residual delusions that I don't expect to go away at any point, but she has at least reached a point where I think we can manage her as an outpatient. The problem with her in the years past, though, is very, very, very poor compliance with outpatient care.
Judge Oscar Kazin is signing a court order mandating outpatient treatment for someone who has spent a lifetime in and out of psychiatric hospitals. The goal is to stop that revolving door. It's called Assisted Outpatient Treatment, AOT.
Everyone that comes through the door has to make these promises, okay? We promise you that we'll provide you with the team. We'll be there whenever you need us. We'll get housing and transportation, and we'll be following and helping you in any way you need, all right?
Thank you, sir.
But I just need 3 promises back from you. So rule 1, be honest. Rule 2, be where you gotta be. The third one's the toughest one, okay? I'm gonna encourage you through this whole thing. Take your meds exactly like you're supposed to take your meds when you're supposed to take your meds.
We'll get back later to Judge Kazin's program.
Child prodigy. From the time he was 2, he wanted to play the piano. When he entered competitions, and he always placed or won.
I needed to be on medications. I said, I don't need to be on any medication.
When we'd have family meetings and we'd be crying and desperate that why is our family falling apart? Because trying to manage error.
Term coming from neurology that we use when people don't realize that they're sick.
Dr. Eric Smith headed down the same path. Here was his thinking at the time.
I said, I'm fine not on medications. You know, medication is for people that are hallucinating or this or that.
It was rough at home. After more than 5 years of turmoil, Brad and Nancy had had enough.
We weren't getting along, and I was basically kicked out of the nest. But at the time, I was viewing that as awesome. I'm getting my own place. There was nothing in the outside world other than my parents saying, what you're doing is wrong. You need hallucinating mildly. And I remember spending most of my time in that apartment right up until the guy confronted me 2 or 3 times when he was like, the rent is due. And I said, all right, I'll get it for you. But then by like the 2nd or 3rd time that he confronted me about it, I just took a couple of expensive things that I had, like my laptop, some electronics, put it in my car and just drove away. I left like my clothes there, everything. I wasn't even thinking about it.
And he literally started living in his car. And since he had never emptied out from one of his moves, his car was already a mess. And he literally had the space just behind on the wheel. And
the second morning that I was doing this, and said, well, you can't sleep here in this parking lot because we've gotten a complaint about that and I can't see you here doing that again or I'll have to arrest you.
If you have someone with anosognosia who won't accept treatment, then you have 2 choices. One is, okay, we'll leave them alone, and they end up homeless or in jail or committing a crime or whatever. I don't think that's particularly humane. The alternative is to say, okay, they don't recognize they need treatment. The rest of us clearly see that the person needs treatment. We're going to mandate treatment one way.
Around dinner time on an August evening in 2009.
My parents' gate is closed. There's a gate in front of their house. I hop the fence.
Eric comes through the door and says, I want to talk to Mom. And now I am really scared because I don't know what his motivation is. He's thinking I'm going to...
It was an aggressive entrance. He was, I am going to talk to Mom.
You can't stop me.
I remember just feeling an irrational rage that I basically couldn't control.
I told Eric that he was trespassing, that he realized it. I said, yeah, I don't care. And then he said something to the effect, I'm going to break your face, Dad.
At this point, we were both indoors, and then I stepped outside, and then my dad closed the door and locked it. And he said, I'm going to call the police. If you're still here, by the time they get here, they're going to arrest you.
He said, fine, and he sat on the porch
Bring
waiting
him
for
on.
the police.
I never hit my dad, but if he came outside, I was in a rage. I don't know that I wouldn't have. What I'm trying to say is that wasn't me. Obviously it was me. Like there was not another person that was Eric Smith who was there. But mentally, that is not me.
It was horrible to see him handcuffed on our property and being led away.
Their gifted son, Eric, had become Eric Winston Taylor Smith, inmate 936162.
His grip on reality had become so severe, we had never seen him in the condition he was in.
To keep him locked up.
I said, my son is mentally ill. Please don't let him go, begging. Please, please, please don't release him.
30 days in the jail's mental health unit receiving treatment, but still not stable. Eric was transferred to the state psychiatric hospital. He was hallucinating in the hospital. Eric was deemed okay for release.
When we learned that Eric was going to be released, we were in a state of panic. We were saying, we're trying to advocate, what, are you kidding me? He's not anywhere near where he needs to be. We see he's made some steps here, and he's somewhat stabilized from where he was, but he
can't take care of himself.
He can't take care of himself. I mean, it's clearly he was not all there. We were panicked.
Still delusional, still
we
mildly
were very
delusional.
panicked.
When I was talking to the prosecuting attorney, that I was begging, I said, my son is suicidal and they're telling me they're going to release him. That can't be. And she said that there is an outpatient commitment program that he remains involuntarily committed.
Remember the hearing at the beginning? That's exactly the procedure Eric went through.
I have a clear memory.
To the outpatient treatment team's message.
That sense of caring was so reassuring after so much turmoil mentally and just not understanding what was going on in jail. At the beginning of staying at the hospital, just really not understanding anything, just hearing something reassuring, some boundaries, some guidelines, do what you need to do. It all seemed pretty basic, but it was very comforting at the time. I remember feeling that way.
Finally, I think he had the fear of the fear of God and the fear of being non-compliant. He knew how important compliance was. Compliance was his ticket out.
This is everyone working for you, and if you comply with your meds, do what you're supposed to do, this team's going to help you.
Obviously, if I didn't want to take my pills, or if I wanted to be rude to the judge, or just find ways to be held in contempt and get sent back to jail, I could have done that. But the program felt too positive, and I would have felt like I would have been betraying everyone trying to help me out and myself if I were to not follow through with these easy things they were asking me to do just to get better.
Eric now adheres to his treatment plan. He's writing music again and is back in school making straight A's. Texas law.
I think for the length of time that the Treatment Advocacy Center has existed, we've accomplished much more than I would have thought we could. I was told when I started that it was a hopeless cause to begin with, which made me even more interested in it. The biggest challenge is not so much the laws. The laws now are becoming improved in the states. The challenge is getting the laws used.
More jurisdictions would look towards this model of active court oversight, where a judge sits at the end of the table. If more jurisdictions would commit to hiring a full-time judge to do this, they would see, as we have seen, fewer people going to jail. They would see fewer readmissions.
Bexar County says this program saves $1.5 million a year in hospitalization costs and frees up police and emergency services to serve other citizens. Critics say assisted outpatient treatment violates a patient's civil liberties by forcing treatment and medications on them.
We have found, though, that once they're exposed to our program and they realize, A, we're primarily dealing with only those individuals who are repeatedly being admitted to a hospital or going to jail, and B, that the program is about offering them help. It's not a probation or a substitute for probation. Most of those opponents have slowly but surely come over to our side.
I believe the law should exist in each state that allows you to treat someone who is severely mentally ill, clearly a danger to themselves or others, or in need of treatment on it, before they are homeless, before they are in jail, before they've committed a violent act, before they are victimized. That's the core of what we're...
Life. I don't know how else to put it.
Absolutely. Eric would not have survived.
We have a relationship with our son that throughout his life we never had.
This is the first time since Eric was diagnosed and he started medication. This is the first time that Eric's ever been compliant. for any period of time. It started with the program.
I see that there's a lot of hope, and I see that it doesn't have to be so dark. And I see a lot of families being together and actually working through a problem together and making the family stronger, as opposed to tearing it apart.